Over the past few months, I've been noticing something of a bias emerging from Twitch, and this has manifested itself in several different forms, whether from the games that they do or do not allow on their platform, the uh, breaches of their terms of service that they ignore, or the personalities that they will prop up in forms of favoritism. I first started seeing some issues during the time when they banned Hatred and Honey Pop. Now, I don't agree with a service for allowing the watching of video games to have a banned game list, but it's their service and I can understand it at least. Generally speaking, they do not allow adult-only games or games with nudity in them, and they've been relatively consistent with this. The big issues started when they just flat out banned Yandere Simulator with no reason given. And I'm going to be linking to a video done by another person that went into detail about this and how it seemed kind of off compared to normal bans. The ban that happened just this week, as of this recording, that in part led me to make this video was the banning of Honeycam Studio. That is from Honey Pot, the same dev team that did Honey Pop. Yes, this gets a bit confusing. They need to branch out with the names a little bit. This is a game that has no nudity in it, and the sexual and drug references in it, compared to something like Grand Theft Auto 5, are incredibly tame. And I know this because I have watched several different playthroughs of this on YouTube. I have friends who have played it and told me what's in it, and I have played it myself. Why this game got a ban, and it was just a blanket ban with no reason given, I can't begin to explain. There's only two real possibilities that come to mind. The first is that someone on Twitch, either a staff, an admin, whatever, they have a personal grudge against Honey Pot, so they're just banning all their stuff, even if it perfectly fits into the terms of service. The second, and this is giving Twitch a bit of benefit of the doubt, is that they just ban any game from any studio where they already have a banned game. So if you have one game that's been banned, any future game you make will be banned on Twitch. And this is a relatively new and unspoken rule that just happened. I don't think that's the case because the uncut director's edition of Indigo Prophecy is banned, and other games from that studio have not been banned. But that's just me trying to give some benefit of the doubt to Twitch. I've seen it jokingly talked about on several places on the internet that the reason Twitch ended up banning Honeycam Studio was because it so accurately portrays how Twitch's own business model works. And they're not too far off, really. If you use pretty much any metric system for popularity, in the top 300, there are several cam girls on Twitch. And you might be asking, what in the fuck would a cam girl be doing on Twitch? Why wouldn't they just use a typical cam girl site? I'm not sure what these would be called exactly. I don't know if they're porn sites or camming sites or somewhere in between. It's a very simple answer, actually. Twitch has a stupidly large viewership. At one point, I believe it was said that on a typical evening, Twitch encompasses 2% of all broadband usage in America or the world. I forget what the exact quote was, but it was an insane amount of internet usage for one site. Now, granted, this is because it's a streaming site, but even then, it's rather large compared to all other sites that have streaming capabilities. According to Twitch's terms of service, and I know this because I know that they have addressed this before, the personality or the webcam or whatever term you want to use has to only encompass a small amount of the screen, typically like about this much right here. And then the game has to encompass all the rest of it. And this was before creative and cooking and all of that came into existence. So this has been going on for a long time. It's not just a new phenomenon because of those new types that have come about. I have seen, and there are plenty of pictures of, people that just blatantly break the rules. The game will actually just be down here, and the person will be the entire screen. I'm going to include a picture of that. You can Google others yourself. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to do that, but this person is in the top 200-300 on Twitch. Now, these metrics, they usually measure total followers and total views that the channel has gotten. They typically don't measure average viewership, which if you go onto the metric page for this person and look at the average viewership, it's actually relatively small. So I'm thinking that that's why, because the channel is what it is, so it gets a very small audience comparatively, but it has built up a rather large following because of what it is. Now, why would Twitch allow this exactly? Well, because these channels, like I said, are rather big. They have a lot of subscribers. They make Twitch a lot of money, so they are probably willing to look the other way. And there are some of these channels that are very gray area, the right of the line of within the terms of service and not. They know, some of these people know how to work the system. Some of these people just blatantly break the rules and they don't get punished for it. And this is just a really big issue that Twitch has had for at least a year, if not more, and they don't seem to be doing anything about it. But the biggest thing that I've seen, even bigger than banning games, I know, right, is that Twitch has a really bad problem with favoritism. Just this week, there was a stream for to commemorate the end of and to promote the last few hours of a crowdfunding campaign by Feminist Frequency for their newest video project. For the first couple of hours, it was just a static image on the screen, and I think a voice in the background. They were doing a little bit of talking. I'm not 100% sure on that. I've heard different stories. But I do know that it was just a static image and nothing else. This is in clear violation of Twitch's terms of service. This stream actually got promoted to the front page by Twitch staff and Twitch admins, and there were several in that channel. I will have an image of that so that you can see I'm not just BSing. It got to the point where Total Biscuit was actually in the channel talking about this because this was in clear violation of Twitch's TOS, and he does not like when favoritism and rule breaking happens, and he's had his issues with Twitch before. And it's not just that he's just some random guy who has issues with Twitch. He was one of the first people that got a subscriber button. So he has been a long time moneymaker for Twitch. And I don't know exactly what happened in that chat. I've heard conflicting stories. his message, either it was ignored, it got deleted, or there was a chat wipe, which is why his message got deleted. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on that. I will have a link to the VOD of that, though, and he starts talking about the 20-minute point. The person who runs that channel actually put a comment timestamp of when he starts talking. It's amazing the amount of favoritism that goes on in Twitch, and I've seen some people say Twitch these days is not about being able to make it. It's a service for people who have already made it, and this seems very true, which is kind of sad. I remember when Twitch first started, and it was a service for just anybody to use, and anybody could be anybody. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. I know Twitch's rules for getting a subscriber button relatively well. I moderate a bit of a bigger channel, and I have been in talks with a lot of other channels as well. The typical ruling is that you have to be streaming 2 or 3 days a week, and you have to have a typical viewership of about 500. Now, if you get a one-time viewership of 1,000 and it drops down to like 300 or 400 average, that's fine too. That's why I say typical. And they're willing to work around the ruling a little bit. Like if you have a viewership of 1,000 and you only stream, or 1,500 and you only stream 2 times a week, they'll give you a subscriber button for that as well. Feminist Frequency channel has a subscriber button with a follower count of less than 2,000, and they stream about once every 3 months. That is so against the norm for Twitch, it's not even funny. Each of these things by themselves is just very small, very insignificant. Add it all together, and this becomes a rather large problem. I use Twitch like I use YouTube a lot. This is my television. This is a service that I do pay for. I'm subscribed to several channels on Twitch. I'm giving Twitch money every month. If this continues, it would be something akin to what's happening on YouTube right now. We will start to see a mass exodus. The problem Twitch has that YouTube kind of doesn't is that Twitch actually has competition. Hitbox and now YouTube Red, or whatever term they're using for YouTube streaming service, they aren't great and they're a lot smaller, but they do exist. Whereas YouTube, the only competition they have is Pornhub. I'm saying this as a customer, and I'm saying this as a long-time user of Twitch. I think back from the Justin TV days. Show how long I've been around. If you're going to have rules, stick to them. Don't let some people get away with it and some people not because of personal biases. Either make it so that the rules are consistent throughout the board, or throw them away and openly say, yeah, we're going to do this for these people. It's things like this that will really upset people and cause them to just quit and leave. And I don't want to see that happen. I really enjoy this service because for all the technical issues, and there are a lot, this is a service that has been relatively good for years. But doing these kind of things will negate all that and make people go. So I'm saying this, just please stick to your standards or get rid of them. That's all we ask. Just, is that so hard? Really? I don't know, maybe I'm just being too optimistic that having standards is something you should strive for. Wow, I'm setting my bar really low here, aren't I? Anyway, this has just been Math Machine talking about a few inconsistencies that Twitch has had over the last little while that I hope don't get any worse. Peace out.